Hi, this is Tanner Tallon with Spartan Youth Radio. We have Mr. Peter Katz on the phone. How are you today, Peter?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good myself.
That's awesome.
So, first question, I had seen you at the Ontario Student Leadership Conference. I was the one who talked to you.
Yeah?
I was wondering if you were planning on doing a studio recording of the song that they had you commissioned for.
Yes, I am. I was actually supposed to do it before I left on this tour that I'm on right now, but time just got the better of me, and so I'll be doing it as soon as possible. But it's in discussions or in the process, in the works.
Well, that's good news for me. I really enjoyed that song.
Oh, thanks very much. It all came together rather quickly and impulsively, instinctively, so that's it's cool when that works out.
That's great. So you mentioned you were on tour. How's your tour going right now? I've seen that you've booked a lot of shows with.
Yeah, it's going really well. This fall I was in Europe for a couple of weeks, and I'm just finishing up a Canadian tour. So I was touring out west, like Calgary, Winnipeg, places like that last week, and now I'm actually on my way to a gig in Quebec, in St. Anne de Bellevue, and I played last night in Montreal, and tomorrow I'll be in Ottawa. So it's been really, really good. A bunch of the dates were with Jeremy Fisher, who's a singer-songwriter I really love, and so it's been really cool to be a part of his shows and some of my own shows. And in Europe, they were my own shows, and they were some of the best shows I've ever had in my life. So it's been really good.
That's good. With your tour in Europe, did you feel that the atmosphere at your shows were different at all compared to your shows here in Canada?
A little bit. In some ways, like in Europe, I kind of have a bit more of an exotic factor. So there's a bit more of people really sort of give you the benefit of the doubt, and they kind of see you as like really legitimate because you've come from so far away. So it's kind of nice to be given the benefit of doubt like that. I mean, I kind of cut my teeth in Canada. You know, I learned how to do my job in Canada. So when I first started out, I was pretty rough around the edges, and to a certain extent, I have to kind of get people to give me a second chance here and see that I've been practicing. Whereas there, when I first started touring Europe, I had been touring for long enough that I relatively knew what I was doing, so I think I got a bit of a better start. But yeah, I mean, it's getting better in Canada too, and I don't know. As far as vibe, it depends on the country. In some countries, they speak English, really easily, like the Netherlands, and so the language thing is not as much of a challenge. But in other places like Germany, Italy, I sort of have to my set with a bit of a different mentality, because it's going to be more about the melody and more about sort of the compelling music and energy than necessarily them understanding every single word that I'm saying. So yeah, those are kind of some of the things that I can kind of play around with depending on where I'm playing.
Well, it definitely gives an advantage with the fresh, open minds to you in Europe, whereas in Canada you have that practicing and then getting the second impression. Yeah.
I understand, but I guess it's, when I've been doing it I've been touring for 7 or 8 years now, and I'm certainly not doing the same thing I was doing 7 or 8 years ago. So it's sometimes difficult to get people to have another listen, because they're like, oh yeah, I've heard Peter Katz, and that was that. But you kind of want to get it's nice to be able to make a first impression again,
So is is there like an extra challenge factor with being a musician, a Canadian musician that's already toured Canada, and getting the people to come back to your shows?
Yeah, I mean, it's more just, I guess it's less about coming back, because I think from the get-go I've been able to like connect with my audience, whether the show was that as tight as it could have been or not at the time. So people tend to come back, but it's also more a matter of like, if people have only heard an old recording or something like that, them sort of taking a chance on the show, or being willing to listen to new recordings, or also sort of like the industry gatekeepers, for them to be willing to come see you again and showcase again, or hear how you evolved. That's more of a challenge, because you're not sort of like the latest, freshest young thing. They've heard of you, but they don't really know what you're actually doing right now.
So it's a matter of your music evolving and you changing with it, and seeing how it changes with them too.
Yeah, that's right.
So, like, on that note, how was being nominated for Emerging Artist of the Year at the Canadian Folk Music Awards like?
That was pretty awesome. That was kind of like a really nice little boost of someone saying, yeah, you're doing the right thing, So yeah, that was pretty cool. And I mean, any of those award things are it's just nice to have a little bit of positive reinforcement, I don't want to be dependent on that, but I'm not going to lie and say that it's not nice, because it is nice.
It's definitely a nice thing when you're up for such a big award. Nomination for a Juno it was Live CD DVD of the Year, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that was also just sort of kind of blew my mind for that to have happened, and to get to be there, and just I think like all I want in my life is to be able to keep doing what I'm doing. That like my goal in life is basically be able to play music forever, and anything that helps that to happen is it gets me so excited, and it makes me happy, So when I got nominated for Juno, it was less like, oh my God, I got nominated for Juno. It was like, oh sweet, like this is going to help me that much more be able to keep playing music and keep playing shows, and so I hopefully can just keep getting better and keep meeting new people and keep doing this life that I love so much, because it's not obvious that it'll always continue, because it's obviously high risk. Finances are always in flux, and it's dependent on you being able to tour all over the place and be very busy and very kind of all consumed with your career, and so it's nice to have a leg up every now and then with something that will help you in addition to all the work that you're putting in.
Nice, get that little breath of refresher breath saying that.
Yeah. And it's like when you get nominated for Juno, it means when you're emailing a venue trying to get a gig, and there's 200 other people emailing for the gig, they pay attention to your email more because of that, So it doesn't make me like play a better show or write a better song. It just makes it so that I can maybe get the show, and from there I still have to do my job and get better at what I'm doing every day. But it just makes it a little bit easier to get my foot in certain doors, and that's what I'm most excited about it. That's what makes me happiest about the fact that happened.
it's a great feeling to have when you're like, oh, I just got this really big thing, and it's just going to help me so much more in my future than it is just being nominated for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like whether I end up losing the fight, which is fine because I think she's great. But to me, it was like as soon as it happened, I was like, well, this is a victory no matter what, because this can always be on my resume now, and this will be helpful for me to be able to continue to play music. So that's what filled me with the most joy. You know, not like, oh, they love my album, or oh, you know, this is gonna make me a celebrity or anything. It's gonna help me to be able to continue doing this thing that I love to do so much.
Yeah. And that was all for your latest album, Still Mine Still, right? For, well, the live
Juno was for the live CD, and then I have a new album called Still Mine Still that I put out after that.
Okay. Wasn't sure there.
Well, they came out very close together, so I put out 3 different releases in 2 years, so it's been a bit confusing.
Fair enough then. With Still Mine Still, I've listened to it a few times, and a lot of the lyrics can get quite emotional. Like, what was running through your head while you were writing the album?
I mean, I would just kind of write about whatever's going on, and with that particular album, I did this like song a week exercise where I had to write a song every Wednesday night and send it to the producer, and I was having all these conversations with friends, you know, some friends going through some difficult times, and so I would just kind of write about whatever I had just been thinking about or talking about. So I ended up writing a lot of kind of comfort songs for other people, you know, like Still My Still is a song I wrote for a friend of mine who was dealing with some anxiety and depression, and I had just spoken to her, and I was like, oh, you know, it'd be really nice to write her a song that she could listen to and you know, just feel like have a little comfort. So a lot of the songs ended up being these kind of comfort songs written for friends, and I didn't really realize I had that theme until I sort of took a step back and looked at all the songs that I'd written, and I was like, oh, you know, this is kind of what I did. So then it was a matter of trying to present it in a way that was pretty, you know, honest and intimate and approachable, and that's why, you know, the word Still Mine Still ended up making sense as a title track for the whole album, because it kind of encompassed that particular time in my life and what I was wanting to write about.
That's really nice of you, actually, for doing that for friends. Have you had any, like, fans say that they've really emotionally connected to it, other than, like, your friends and family and acquaintances?
Sorry, can you ask that question again?
Have you ever had, like, any fans say that they've emotionally connected to your songs?
Oh yeah, that's probably my favorite thing is people. I mean, especially Still Mine Still. I've gotten a lot of people coming up to me and telling me what the song means to them, and you know, that's really, every time that happens, that's like my dream come true, is that you can put something out in the world and somebody connects with it, and they welcome it into their lives. You know, that's the goal. So yeah, it happens. It happens quite a lot, and I love it every time. I'm just delighted that it means something to people, because I mean, I just think about what music means to me and what I turn to music for, and how important it is in my life, and how it marks so many different things and moments and just times in my life. So to think that one of my songs is doing the same for somebody else is an amazing feeling.
That's great. That's all the time we have for this today. Is there anything you would like to, in turn, say to our audience?
Not really. I mean, I guess I just hope you'll have a listen. I think every singer-songwriter's goal or any artist's goal is just, I'd rather have somebody like hate my work than just have never heard it, you know? I think the worst thing the biggest fear is just to be ignored. Somebody loves it, that's great. Somebody hates it, well, that's also great because it means that they at least heard it and they don't like it. But I'm okay with that as long as they've heard it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Peter, for your time today.
Oh, my great pleasure.
Come now, says the clock. The sail has found its wind. So I nod to my friends and we begin. Another evening show finds me, and I know all I need to